Bing is the cold shower on all our fandom erections.
G'day and welcome to the Krakenless Krakencast. This is the oceanic branch of Vassals of Kingsgrave's Game of Thrones review series. Today we'll be discussing episode 1 of season 8 entitled Winterfell. My name is David. I'm David HHH on the forums. And today I'm joined by Bing.
This is Bing. I'm Shoeshiner on the forums.
And Neil.
Valyrian Neil on the forums.
Okay, I thought I'd start by explaining the various Vassals of Kingsgrave shows. For those who don't know, Vassals of Kingsgrave is a spin-off of a podcast of Ice and Fire. There are around 2-3 dozen people who participate regularly in our podcast, which are primarily devoted to George R. R. Martin's A Song in Ice and Fire series, as well as the Game of Thrones show. But we can also be talking about almost anything nerdy from DC and Marvel comics to books to soccer. But when the show is on,
movies.
I'm sorry. Yes, and movies too. Lots and lots of things. But when the show is on, there are a lot of us with a lot of things to say. It can be difficult to have a reasonable podcast with more than 5 to 8 people involved, so Vok decided to split into various casts. Unlike most podcasts, we have vassals from around the world, and scheduling times for all of us to get together from many different time zones can be complicated and tricky. So for the Game of Thrones cast, we decided to break up the cast by region. Dragoncast is based in the US, Wolfcast is based in Europe, and Krakencast is based in Australia and Oceania. But anyone can join any cast if the time suits them. For this recording, we have the bizarre situation of a Krakencast with no actual Krakens. Unfortunately, Duncan, our fearless leader, is traveling the United States at the moment, culminating with the Ice and Fire Convention, which he'll hopefully tell us all about. Sarah is bogged down with project at university, but she's here just for a moment to say hi. Say hi, Sarah.
Hi, folks. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be a responsible adult. It's not going very well, but I'll be here next week.
Priorities, Sarah, priorities. No, we're kidding. Just glad
It's very
to say
hard.
that. I know. It's tough having a life when you're trying to schedule with people from around the world, right? And Donna is stuck at work. She's on her way to work right now. So I hear Donna's listening right now. I don't know if you want to say a quick hi.
This is Taindana, Donna from the forums, and I endorse this Krakenless Krakencast.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I hope we get you next week.
You won't. I'm managing next week. Ugh.
Oh, so you're definitely working? One of these weeks we'll get you.
Well, thanks for joining.
In any case, luckily we have our honorary Krakens, Bing, Neil, and I, who were active last year in the Krakencast because we have weird timings, like I work in a restaurant, so nighttime is great for me, or late night. In any case, let's get into the episode. Let's dive in. Let's give our lemon cake ratings out of 1 to 5. What do you think? Bing?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, 3.5 for me. I mean, I typically give the same grade for every opening episode. They're all kind of the same at this point. They all just sort of set up, introduce the scenario. Would this person talk to that person talk to this person, and maybe 1 or 2 scenes that's actually kind of interesting. Other than that, I mean, it's okay. It's fine.
Okay. How about you? Yep.
I'm gonna give it 4. I think I was just starved for in Game of Thrones. So it was like Bing said, it was a typical opening season episode. But yeah, I was starved for it. I had a great time watching it, and I watched it again last night. So I'm going 4.
Yeah, well, I'm the show apologist, so I'll give it a 4.5. Every cast has to have one, right? But I loved it. I mean, it wasn't perfect. There's certainly things that we'll talk about, I'm sure, that didn't make sense or whatever. But I thought there was lots of great character stuff. The first episode in particular is about putting chess pieces where they need to be on the board. And the first few episodes are usually that. I don't know if we're going to have time for that. Maybe next week, too, but that'll be it. But, I mean, they did a lot of that. I loved the character moments. It made me cry a few times. I was happy. I was just thrilled to be back in this world, even though a lot of us live in the world through the books as well and through this podcast. But to actually, be watching it. It's interesting that a lot of my friends at work and online were really disappointed that not much happened. I think we're the types who really care about the character moments more than some people. But it's interesting because one of the things that I want to talk about briefly is how I was really wondering after, a 2-year break, if people would kind of fall out of interest or if it would just get people more excited. Like, when Star Wars came back, everyone was psyched. So I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And it seems like, it's bigger than ever. Everyone's talking about it. It's all over every news broadcast, every TV show. At work, they had ESPN on and they were comparing like sports players to Game of Thrones characters. What's the point of this? We have Oreos, we have, Mountain Dew, we have like everything is trying to jump on the bandwagon and everyone was talking about it. I couldn't order pizza. Because everyone was having a party. The first 3 places I went to weren't taking orders or certainly would say, yeah, we can deliver in about 2 to 3 hours. I finally found one place that let me pick it up. That's nice. Crazy, right?
No, I felt this opening or this first episode of the season was probably the biggest one ever. I feel like everybody I know was watching it. People were trying to get onto my HBO Go and getting blocked out. And I was getting, texts like I was supposed to fix their problems. And
oh, nice.
I think the last season plays a large role in this. That everybody, it's now that's the last chance you could jump on this bandwagon. And there's talks of like this is this last monocultural artifact that we have in our society or something like that. Which sure, but I remember when Breaking Bad was on its last season, there was sort of a smaller version of this going on at the same time as well. And that a lot of people suddenly are all paying attention to this one thing. Right. And you see the cast of the Breaking Bad everywhere, and which you see here with the Game of Thrones cast as well.
Although they can't say anything. It's like 100 different versions of the interview where we can say nothing. So we're just going to smile and say, I missed the show. Oh, it's sad it's over. It'll be great. Like, they said nothing. It was funny. But
yep.
I do feel like last season, it really broke out even more than before. We had a big jump after the Red Wedding, and then people were talking about it for a while. But last season, it felt like everyone around me, like at work, some people had in the past, but last season, everyone was watching it. And this season, it's just that times 10. It's interesting because, we now live in the world where there aren't really cultural moments like this on TV anymore, other than like maybe sports games, Super Bowl and stuff, because none of us watch shows live anymore. We all stream, we watch it a couple of days later, we binge it a year later, and this seemed like a cultural moment. Which is going to be interesting given that a lot of people I heard were disappointed that not much happened. So I wonder if that will kill it or not or whatever. But I think episode 3 is probably going to be a big one like that too, because there's going to be a huge stuff happening there. So it'll be interesting to see if all season it stays this cultural moment or if it was just, okay, it's back and okay, that's it. We'll see.
Yeah, there was plenty of stuff that happened. So I guess we'll get into it.
I agree. And I think that's a difference between, like I said, between us and like, the casual viewers, where I felt the character moments were more compelling than a lot of the action stuff on other shows. I felt like, just a little moment, like Cersei saying when she finds out about the wall saying, good. That moment had me more excited than like battles on other shows.
I feel the character moments on this show are more exciting than the actual action moments in this show.
That could be true. We'll see if that remains the case this season. But yep.
At least since the last season.
So let's dive in. First, obviously, we have to talk about the new opening credits. I wasn't expecting that. Were you guys?
No.
Well, there's only two places left.
Right. Well, that's the thing, I think on some level it was that, plus they had the 2 years and they had a bigger budget. So what the hell? Let's do it. Very much more detailed, and actually, no, we had Last Hearth briefly in there for the first time. So there were 3 places and sort of the wall, but although we didn't actually see Castle Black, but they weren't actually ever at Castle Black. So that made sense.
Nope.
I thought it was interesting just how they still went with like the flying camera, but the camera angles were moving as the camera itself was moving, which is something they'd never done before. And then there were also like some stops and directional changes, like it would go forward and then back off again, which I thought was just interesting. And I wonder if like you were watching this up close, it could almost give you a little motion sickness.
Yeah, it's a little dizzying, but and I got a little disoriented when they first showed the hole in the wall. But yeah, it was great. I loved it. Seeing the last hearth. Did we notice the spiral design around the last hearth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was cool.
And one thing I liked also, did you notice they used like tiles for the ice, and then the white tiles flipped over to blue to be showing like the White Walkers marching? That was really cool.
It was nice. It was a nice surprise.
One thing that they've added now is the astrolabe itself has some pivotal moments in Westeros history, and I think they'd done it before, but it went by so fast you didn't notice. They actually stopped on 3 of them at different points in the beginning, the middle, and the end. The first one was the wall coming down. The second one, I didn't get at first because, I had to pause and like frame it, or else I wouldn't have gotten it, because it was very symbolic, but it was actually the Red Wedding. There was a lion with a fish in its mouth. And there was a hung wolf without his head, but with arrows in it. And then there was something. At first, I thought it was actually the Night's King, but I think it was supposed to be Jaime with the head of a wolf. So that was really cool.
Really?
Yeah. Look at that close. If I posted a screen grab. Anyone else listening, rewatch and pause on those 3 bits. And then the third one is the birth of the dragons. We see a giant dragon with 3 small dragons coming out of it. So it's the birth of Dany's dragons. That was really neat too, I thought. I had to grab that to actually catch that though. And I don't know. I bet most viewers didn't get that. Also,
I didn't get it.
Also, it was cool seeing the insides of the buildings and under them for the first time. We saw the crypts under Winterfell with Lyanna Stark's statue. Briefly.
That was great.
Right.
And that makes you wonder what, if anything's going to happen underneath King's Landing.
Oh, no, definitely. Well, we saw in the first trailer, we've seen a few things. We've seen Arya running down there from something. We saw Varys hiding with the women and children. So I'm assuming a lot's going to happen in the crypts, but we'll see.
No, I meant below King's Landing.
Oh, right. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We saw the what's the big bolt thing to fire the bolts at the dragons? That was under there with some dragon targets.
Yeah, the old skulls.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, for the first time, it actually ends. The last thing we see, because we're inside, it goes to the Iron Throne. So the last scene of it is the Iron Throne, which was kind of cool. Cool way to end it.
Yeah, it was great.
I read online someone behind the show said that each episode's credit sequence will be different. I don't know how much different it'll be. It might just be like, say, those history scenes might change or something. But it'll be interesting to see how much it changes. So there's something to watch for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And let's get into the actual episode then. So first we have Winterfell with the arrival of John and Dany. Everyone in the north is apparently retreating to Winterfell, and we have lots of reunions here. Let's jump in. The first thing we see is a boy running and climbing to see the procession. That clearly to me was a callback to both Bran climbing around and one of the very first scenes of Arya pushing through to see the first procession, which was King Robert's procession. So the whole thing had like lots of callbacks, which the whole episode had lots of, I thought. I love that. What did you think?
Yeah, it's very well set up. I have no idea who that kid is.
Yeah, I don't think we were supposed to. It was just a random kid.
I thought the kid was actually the Umber kid, but I guess it wasn't.
No. I think he was just meant to be a random kid.
Mm.
I like the music. Obviously, it was a callback to the music when Robert arrived in the pilot episode, but they also kind of mashed it up with Daenerys' dragon music. You can hear that coming mixed in there. It was great.
Well, the one musical thing I caught from that was when Arya is watching each of them coming, which was a great way to do it, to see it through her view. First she sees John, then she sees the Hound, and when she sees the Hound, the music gets darker, and then she sees Gendry and it lightens up, which I thought was really cool.
Mm. Yeah, it's some really good directions in these scenes.
And then we have the first lines of the episode being ball jokes. Was that really necessary? I mean, come on.
They got to give Varys something to do.
I guess. I don't know. It's just
feel like
really.
I feel like I heard this joke at least 2 other times already.
Right?
In the show.
Right.
It's find a new slant.
But only the first lines of the freaking season. I mean, come on. Hopefully this isn't setting the tone.
Right.
And then we get the people's reactions as in the crowd, like, notice the Grey Worm and Missandei come, and they're all, like, kind of looking a little nervous. And then Dany, and they're looking a little, And then the dragons, and they're all like, whoa. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. No, that set the mood perfectly. Yeah, that was good.
Then, of course, this whole section is just full of reunions. Okay, I'm the, like, softie of the group, probably, but did anyone cry in any of the reunions or any other moments in the episode?
I think John seeing Bran was the toughest for me. That really hit home. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was even better than the Arya one. I don't know why. Just the thought of seeing your little brother.
I guess.
The last time you saw your little brother, he was...
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the emotional reverence of this scene was taken off by the fact that Bran is now just like a different entity now and has been since the last season.
Right, which was the point.
So it was kind of I guess, but it was kind of I kind of expected Bran to sort of be like, sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It was nice to see a little emotion out of him.
Yeah,
I like when he cuts everybody off. I like. I think Bran was better played this time as the three-eyed crow. Or the three-eyed raven, whatever they're calling him now.
Right.
Yeah, he seems more comfortable in this role.
Here's the question, though. So we have creepy, dry Bran. Is that good acting or bad acting?
Well, I liked it better in this episode than a lot of last seasons because I maybe the lines were flat and maybe he was just getting comfortable doing it, but I felt it worked better in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Isaac Hempstead, right? And part of me was like, yeah, I like it, but a part of me felt like it was almost a little too much. I don't know if it was that he was being flat or that's how he's directed to be, but it felt like a little, I don't know.
Yeah, it was funny. I saw, the memes were flying last night.
Yeah,
and there was a GoFundMe to get Bran out of the courtyard. It seems like he was just left in the courtyard.
Yeah.
It's like whether it was during the day or night, he was just sitting there and just somebody come get me.
Or maybe what he needs is he needs wheelchair lessons. Like these have wheels on it. I know they didn't really have that in those times, so maybe he doesn't understand this.
Yeah. He just expects to be pushed around. But,
yeah, I liked all that stuff. It was all fun. I that's the kind of stuff I was looking for. I mean, come on, how long have we been waiting for the John and Arya reunion? I mean, I actually thought I would be crying more than I was. I still pretty much lost it. I was bawling, but I think I actually cried more at the Sansa reunion than I did. And maybe it's just because it was coming. And I think it also was a little mooted by the fact that she already saw him coming earlier, like a few minutes before in the episode. But still, it was awesome. It was still awesome. And we still get the, how much the two have grown and all they've lived through. And they're a little put offish at first, but then they hug and then we're happy.
I think that my problem that I didn't find all these scenes as emotional is just, I don't think that's how it's going to happen in the books.
Yeah.
It seems to just be too wholesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seems they played out in a way to intentionally try to get these sort of emotions. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like something that could possibly happen in the books. And
we can't have joy in the books. We're not allowed.
No, it's not. It's not that.
There's truth to it, though.
It's not that. But I think it's not that. But it's the scenarios that the way in which it's kind of. It's almost like, yeah, cool. They all come back to Winterfell and say hi to each other. I don't think that's the way they're going to.
Right.
The way the book has been plotted, doesn't seem to be the way that's the way they would be reunited.
And I think a lot of us don't even think Bran's ever going to come back from the tree in the books.
Yeah, I thought he was trapped there, but after the Hodor episode, he's got to get back.
I guess.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. It just seems like very
too happy for what we're going for.
Well, it's not even about happy or not. It's about the way in which these scenes are played out, in which it just seems kind of, I don't want to say generic, but it's kind of like that. In that,
I guess the show has to kind of present it as it did instead of making it more complicated or more nuanced. They kind of just have to get through it.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I thought was interesting is Dany being introduced to Sansa and telling her how beautiful she was just goes to show how much Sansa's changed because, old Sansa would have been like, oh, and then Sansa's like, she's not even having it. She's just looking over like, yep, sure, thanks.
Yeah, no, that was a good scene. I really noticed it with Sophie's performance throughout this. She's really drawing from Cersei and Cersei's tone and thoughts, and that's kind of taking from her abuser
right?
some of the lessons she's learned. Yeah, it was interesting.
That's been her journey all along, I think. I don't know how much that'll be the case in the books, but show-wise, definitely, from all of her abusers.
Yeah.
We get a little moment. We see little Ned Umber, who's heading back, and you knew they were going to do something with him because they introduced this kid, and we'll talk about what happens to him later, but he gets a little moment.
Just quickly on Sansa. She's all show nothing, plot for everything now. I like that. It's definitely a keeping her cards close to her chest.
She's smart. She's learned from Littlefinger.
She's the smartest person Arya knows.
Apparently. That was interesting. Then we have Lyanna Mormont saying what everyone else around was thinking and confronting John about giving up to Daenerys. That was cool. That's what we expect from Lyanna, right?
Yeah, I guess as maybe some people are going to be frustrated with a lot of the politics, the bickering back and forth. But I think that's, the point of all of this is that can mankind get their act together as they face their biggest challenge? And here we're seeing them bicker and squabble over titles and territory.
I think this does matter, though. Even at this point, even with Army of the Dead coming in, first of all, nobody else in that room besides John and I guess Dany at this point really faced an Army of the Dead. And up to this point, these are all the important things in their lives. But also having a Stark lead this sort of confrontation rather than a Targaryen leading this confrontation is important. It's an important difference for these Northerners. And it's not just about she's a Targaryen, we don't trust her. It's about Starks know how gets these people, right? And they trust the Starks to be able to make the right decisions in these sort of circumstances over this random person who never lived in Westeros until a few months ago.
And that's a valid point. They don't know this woman. They didn't even know she existed until very recently. In fact, probably your average person on the street didn't know she existed until a week ago. And suddenly she's now going to be the queen after we already had a civil war over this. And we've decided together, we in the North, put this guy up and now he's abdicating. Yeah. That's some important stuff.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's in terms of uniting the people you saw with Glover, right? He just up and turned yet again because he's Glover. Okay, that's his thing. But that's a real concern, and it's a logistical concern as well. Are these people even sure? It's a large army and bunch of dragons. That's cool. What are they actually going to be able to do anything? We don't have the resources to feed these people. Sansa's bringing up legitimate question. Yeah, we don't have enough food to feed all these armies, and I have no idea how to feed dragons.
Not only that, but everyone from the entire North is retreating to Winterfell, so they're now going to have to feed pretty much the entire population of the North, plus dragons, plus all these armies and everything else. It's a valid point. I'm wondering if this is actually going to be a plot point for more in the season, or if it was just a reason for Sansa to doubt everyone.
I don't think so. But it's good to at least they bring it up.
Yeah, and the people of Winterfell or Wintertown, if that's what they were walking through, they were leery of everybody walking through. It wasn't just Dany. Right. So it was just anybody that was not of the North.
Then I think one of my favorite moments was the Sansa Tyrion reunion. I loved her comment that when he brings up the purple wedding and he goes, oh, it had its moments, i.e. Joffrey dying. That was great.
Yeah. No, that was a good exchange, and I definitely wanted more here. I wanted more back and forth. I wanted more talking about their marriage and their situations, but I think what we're going to have to get used to with only 6 episodes. I guess these things are going to be chopped down into bites like this.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like there has been I made this complaint about the dialogue since last season. Mm-hmm. It's kind of now reduced to almost like Wikipedia-esque introductions with each other, in which, oh yes, you are this character. I'm sure I'm this character, and you are that character now. And yeah, I'm certainly that character.
And remember, we were married.
Yeah, remember that time we were together. I sure remember that time we were together. Mm-hmm. It feels
fair enough.
Yeah, it feels like just like I could write this dialogue just based. I'm kind of expecting a little bit more than actual TV writers for a TV show. And
to be fair, though, it's the first episode, and I feel like they're trying to remind us of that stuff. So there's some of that. But yeah, you're fair. But regardless of what it is, it still should sound natural.
Well, no, it's just like if that's if the goal is just to reintroduce the characters, making sure the audience who needs know who these and that person are, and it does the job. But it's just yeah, sure, that's that. You sure are who you are. You guys sure had a history.
Well, this one in particular, I thought was good. I just wanted more. You know, it was like it was probably like 4 or 5 lines, but like I wanted 20. You know,
I mean, I really liked Tyrion showing the respect for Sansa that she deserves. I liked that a lot, especially since he doesn't know a lot of what happened with her, but he's still showing her respect, which he always has.
Yeah.
And as much as you want to, I mean, I wish we had more of it, but I loved the line, you know, when she said that Tyrion isn't as clever as she used to think he was the cleverest one in the room, but you believe Cersei? Right. Really? It was a great bit. Here's a quick question on that, though. Do you guys believe there's some theories that Tyrion actually worked out some sort of deal with Cersei, because the discussion scene last season in the finale was cut off, like after they talked about the babies and whatever. We never saw her agree to it, so we don't know why she agreed. So there's some theories out there that she only agreed to it because maybe Tyrion offered something, or maybe he's going to betray them, or, you know, whatever, or something happened at least. So do you think that, or is that just a bad theory?
I could go with that. I mean, especially with the way that Bran was staring at Tyrion in the one scene, which is, I don't know if it's right after this or not.
Right.
But you know, we don't find out until later in that last episode that she isn't sending the army, and that's what sends Jaime off on his own. Right. So,
but maybe Tyrion
there's
knew
definitely
this.
Something there.
It's possible that Tyrion knew that, although then he could look up right now and be like,
and maybe this is the pragmatic move that, you know, like John giving up his crown to partner with Daenerys. Maybe this is something that Tyrion feels like he has to do just to get the army there. Whatever it is he's conspired to do, allegedly.
I'm going to move back for 1 second. There's one thing I wanted to mention. In the Jon Arya reunion, I loved that they compared their swords, you know, bringing back Needle and Longclaw and the two of them looking for each other. I really like that little bit there. And then Arya giving respect for Sansa. I mean, is she really the smartest person she knows? I don't know, but it's nice.
Yeah, I guess them teaming up to get Littlefinger was clever, and it was, you know, it sounds like maybe that was her giving credit to Sansa for that move. But yeah, I found that line, and I saw it somewhere in the forums or maybe on Skype that, you know, that wasn't the best writing, or, you know, it was just kind of quite an about face. But and you know, I get that last season they were playing for the audience and Littlefinger, their distrust of each other. But this is like you said, Bing, this is one of those very quick, chopped up to the point reunions. But it was good. It was really good, especially to see those two. The last time we saw them, they were handing Needle off, so it was great.
Let's move on to King's Landing. We got a bunch of stuff happening here. Cersei finds out the walls come down. The Golden Company has arrived with Euron. Cersei fucks Euron. Qyburn hires Brun to kill Jaime and Tyrion. And Theon saves Yara. So let's take this point by point. Qyburn, the dead have broken through the wall. Cersei, good. I love Cersei there. That was great. She can do more with one word and an eye roll than most actors. I think she's still like, at least of those still alive, she's the best actress on the show right now.
Yeah, definitely.
She's great.
Yeah, Heidi. Yeah.
I wish they would have grown. I can't stand that wig though. They need to magically grow her hair back. I'm over it.
I mean, especially now. I mean, how long has it been since the Walk of Shame? I mean, it should have grown. I mean, I don't know if it grows as long as it used to be.
I guess. That's Lena Headey's hair, though, right? She always has short hair. So I don't know.
Like the old
maybe that's just how. Yeah, that's how she likes it, anyways.
Yeah, and let's talk about Lannister hair.
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal that they aren't blonde anymore, except that was a major plot point.
Yeah, I know.
And so, Tyrion's hair is like really dark with little blonde highlights, and now at the end of the episode, we see Jaime. His hair's almost black.
Right.
So, I mean,
the scene is strong. Maybe
they're Lannister. Give them some blonde hair, please. Yeah, it's driven. I mean, over the last 5 seasons, it's driven me nuts.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's over now, so I don't think it's going to happen. Well, we're just going to have to deal with it, I guess. I like the actors enough that I'm okay with it, but I'm not thrilled.
Oh yeah. It's nitpicking. It goes in the nitpicking category.
Speaking of nitpicking, I love the bit about the elephants, and I'm wondering if that's meta. We, the fans, have been hoping for elephants, and Cersei is kind of our stand-in there. And I wonder if there isn't a little meta commentary there, because, we're the fans. We complain when the show does stupid things that make no sense, right? We all do, and rightfully so. But you know what? We all still want elephants. And let's be reasonable. It wouldn't make any sense. You're going to put them on ships coming all the way across the ocean? Probably wouldn't. So I'm wondering if, they're giving a reasonable explanation for why we won't get something as kind of a meta kind of statement on our criticisms. I don't know. Are they maybe not that smart?
Yeah, or the showrunners are
they're
complaining about running out of budget. Yeah,
right. Maybe they ran out of budget and then used it as an excuse to tweak us. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading into it.
Or just it was a very funny line to have very funny thing to have Cersei obsessed over thirsting after elephants for some reason.
Yeah.
That was probably the best line in the entire episode. Just Cersei really? I wish there were elephants. After fucking Euron for some, which was. Yeah.
She needs to change the subject quickly after that. Yeah. So let's get there. Let's go there. Cersei fucks Euron. I mean, I don't know. It seems for me out of character for show Cersei. Not book Cersei. Book Cersei fucks for power. Show Cersei doesn't. She hasn't yet, and she did here, and kind of in a weird moment. Like, after telling him, no, go prove it to me, and then I'll let you fuck me, she then fucks him, which is kind of weird, right? Did that work for you?
No. I actually think that works because it showed how actually vulnerable she is. Because she has no allies whatsoever at this point, other than Qyburn, I guess.
And there is that moment when she walks away and she just stops, and you could see, and just from her with her back turned, you can see her going, I guess I gotta do this.
Yeah.
He's such a wild card and he's such a maniac. She's got to string him along or give him a little something. In good faith.
And let's be honest, it probably is a little something, because when someone has to brag that much and be like, oh, how great was I? How great was I? He's probably overcompensating, right? That said, I mean, Euron's probably a crazy fuck. I mean, he's a crazy fuck in some senses, but he's probably literally a crazy fuck. Like, he's probably fun. So if nothing else, hopefully she enjoyed it.
Yeah, Jaime's been gone for a little bit. She was DTF. Yeah.
I don't think she was. I totally think she was like, oh, God, will you just finish already? I don't need that. Just go. Just go,
Everything about the character Euron just sucks now.
Right? And is so just different from the books that you can't even go.
It's not even about different from the books. It's fine to be different from the books. And for all I care, this could just be Victarion. Right. Because that's basically who he actually is.
True. That's a fair point. Yeah.
With Victarion with more bravado, basically. And that's
the sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah, with a sense of humor. I guess sense of humor. I don't know.
A weird sense of humor.
I didn't even find him that funny.
He finds himself funny, though.
He's really rote. It's like standard. What is a villain? That's right out all things villains do. He's very ambitious. That's who he is. I don't know. Everything about this character sucks to me. I just can't get into it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's like they're trying to make him important because, let's face it, once the army of the dead are done, I mean, what does Cersei have? She has nothing. And if we're going to have some drama later in the season with Cersei, the deck is stacked against her, so we're trying to build Euron up as like a real threat and a real character, and no one really gives a fuck about him. And I'm imagining that the casual fans give even less of a fuck about him than we do.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
what do you guys think is his point in the show? If you had to
I think he's there as this crazy villain character that they've had since Joffrey and Ramsay. Now these guys are dead. Now we need a third guy to fill in their role. And he kind of just came into the series just as Ramsay died.
Right.
But even Ramsay was already too much.
Right.
And wasn't as that engaging of a character anyways. And he's just and Euron's even worse.
I'll disagree. I thought Ramsay was great both on the show and the books. But I feel like, though, it's a shame because Euron seems the direction we're heading in the books with Euron, and I don't want to go into spoilers for Winds of Winter, but it seems like he's going into being like a really interesting and crazy character in a good way. And on the show, it just seems like a bad caricature.
Like, are you threatened by this guy?
In the books, yeah. In the show, not at all.
I mean, in the books, definitely, yeah.
in the show, not at all. And that's the thing.
He's just a punk,
right? They're setting him up to give Cersei something on her side, because right now she has nothing on her side. And it doesn't work. Like, he doesn't add to her in any way. But whatever. I mean, they got to do something to fill the last episode or two, so whatever.
I don't know. Did Harry Strickland have this weird accent? Or is it just me?
I don't even remember him talking. He probably did, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, it was different. I couldn't place it, and he only said something briefly. A
line or two, yeah.
It was different.
Maybe they were going for foreign, quote unquote.
I guess, even though he's Westerosi.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know that we don't really know that on the show. That's the thing.
That's true. That's true.
So he's foreign, quote unquote.
Strickland is not the most. I guess not. I mean, whatever.
You're giving this too much thought, I think. Which we do. That's what we do, right? that should be like our subtitle, Vassals of Kingsgrave. We give this too much thought.
Right.
In any case.
Yeah, why are they all lined up ready for battle just on a boat?
On a boat. When
Landing.
Clearly, like, they're not coming. I mean, there's not going to be a battle for at least weeks of actual time because they still have to deal with the dead, and there may be no one to battle because they may be all dead at that point. We don't know, but they're all just standing there because it looks good, and we got the CGI.
They're in formation.
We have the CGI army. Yeah. We also get Brun and the return of Sexposition. If anyone. And we got titties. I saw one of the sites had Game of Thrones bingo cards where you get points for like different things, like major character dies. And every single bingo card had a spot for titties. And I was like, I don't know if you're going to get points for that this season. There's no time for titties, but leave it to Game of Thrones. They found time for Sexposition and some nudity because maybe people would want their money back. I don't know.
I loved it. I don't care.
It was fun.
It was funny.
It was funny. But something important happened in there, too, because Qyburn hires Brun to kill Jaime and Tyrion. Now, the question is, was he really doing this at Cersei's bidding, or is he doing it on his own?
Oh, I think it was Cersei's bidding.
Mm-hmm. I think it's Cersei. Yeah, she's...
Yeah.
Some people think that he's doing it on his own for whatever reason, and one of the reasons is because why did he do it instead of, Cersei himself? But I don't know if you guys know, but Lena Headey and Jerome Flynn apparently had a fling for a while.
Oh, yeah.
She won't appear on camera with him, which is kind of weird, but, you're an actress. Do what you're fucking told, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, I thought the scene was great, especially the part with the STD or whatever.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah.
That was
pox.
great.
She'll have the pox.
The flocks, yeah.
Today the pox in a few.
That was a good line. Yeah.
And he's like, wait, uh-oh. Did I just clicked it? Do you think that Brun will really do it? Will he go to kill Jaime and Tyrion? Either of them, actually. You think he'd actually do it?
No, and I think he would take Tyrion up on his offer. If somebody tries to
take 10 times the money,
pay you to double cross me, I will double it.
Right. I feel like definitely I can't see show Brun turning on either of them.
Yeah.
Book Brun, sure. Book Brun at the very least would turn on Jaime. I don't know about. Well, I mean, because they never had that whole. They didn't have that whole thing in the books. But Tyrion, I don't know. But definitely, I can't see show Brun doing it. So I'm wondering where they're going to go with that whole bit. Will he actually start to do it and then no, I can't, or will he just be betraying them all along? I don't know. Betraying, I mean, Qyburn and Cersei.
Yeah, he might struggle with it a little bit. I don't see him going through with it.
No.
Nah.
Like, does he even right now think he's going to do it? Like, yeah, I'll do this. Or do you think he's just totally not? I don't know.
Or does he feel forced to do it? Or does he feel like, well, they're paying me, but it doesn't sound like I can say no here, you know?
And then the last little bit here, Theon saves Yara, and that was a super fast scene. Like, pretty much the only action we get in the whole episode, and it's over in, what, like a minute? he breaks onto a ship and breaks her out. You'd think it would be a little harder than that, and it would have been a good excuse for them to put some action in the episode. But it feels like they're like, you know what? This storyline's going nowhere. Let's just get it over with. Like,
well, I guess I'm always the person saying, hey, they have to condense this, give them a break. Right. But yeah, this was like
so condensed.
It wasn't very inventive. He just jumped on the boat, grabbed her, left.
Yeah. And I mean, we didn't even, I'm hoping we're later getting it. We didn't even get a freaking confrontation between him and Euron. Like, we should have. And we didn't have any sense that Yara has been through anything. Like, I was hoping we'd get maybe a little bit of book Euron in that she was tortured or something. Nope, here you are. Let's go. And I'm going to go take the Iron Islands now. Nothing. Yep. No ramifications, no repercussions.
Yeah, no, it was very cut and dry and boring and silly. But I think something she did allude to is if they do have to retreat, that's somewhere where, you know, the survivors could go and regroup.
That's a good point. I wonder if we will go there. But
yeah, and I guess I've always kind of wondered what, you know, even in the books, having the Ironborn be such a presence later in books 4 and 5.
Right. And even more of a
what is their purpose?
And even more of
So what part are they going to play in the final battle? And that's something I haven't decided, you know, as far as trying to predict it. So that was probably the only interesting part here.
Let's move on to the next big Winterfell scenes, where John and Dany fly dragons and then make out by a beautiful waterfall. Arya reunites with the Hound and Gendry. John and Sansa fight over Dany. Dany tells Sam that she had his father and brother killed, and then Sam tells John that he's the rightful king and tries to convince him to take the throne. So this is where probably everything important in the entire episode happens, right? So first we have some talk of a marriage between John and Daenerys. We have some of the underlings conspiring to push them together, which frankly seems to already be happening anyways, so there's kind of no need for them to push it, I think. Maybe that won't happen as with what happens later, but seemed almost like kind of like, hey, let's talk them into getting married. And well, do you really need, I don't think you have to really push too hard.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it does solve an obvious crisis that's happening in Winterfell that, you know, none of the Northerners want any part of John not being king.
Right. So maybe push them into doing it earlier than they would have so we can get everyone united.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair.
Traditional political marriage.
Dany has a moment where she says that her dragons aren't eating. I wonder if there's a reason for that. Are they maybe disturbed that they lost the other dragon? I don't know. I don't know if that'll be something that'll become a point later. I
just wonder if the weird magic in the north, the old gods, the, you know, that sort of thing is taking effect and they won't be as powerful once the Night's King's army marches south.
That could be a good point. And then John rides a dragon. Not surprising, but we needed it to happen, and it was done well. He's nervous, he's scared, he does it. I love it. She doesn't even give him, like, hey, any advice. Just fucking do it.
So, two things about the scene. First of all, I like this scene better when it was animated. This movie was called How You Train Your Dragon.
Right.
Actually, that had better music. Background music. Second, is Daenerys just like don't know that only Targaryens ride dragons?
Well,
and doesn't care who doesn't care?
Maybe that's something I thought Sam would bring up because she may not believe that John's father's Rhaegar and his mom's Lyanna. When that news gets out, and then maybe Sam will find something in the books that says, hey, you know, he wouldn't be riding the dragons if he wasn't part Valyrian or Targaryen.
Well, but there's still Nettles. We don't know if Nettles actually maybe secretly had some, in the books at least. In the show, this doesn't exist, but in the history, there were actually a few who were able to ride. There were two other knights. There were two other knights.
Yeah, those two weren't they like actual like bastard descendants of Targaryens or like Valyrians?
I think the other two were, and even Nettles, we don't think. Nettles wasn't officially, but there's rumors.
Yeah, because like there were a lot of Targaryens and lowborns doing all sorts of things.
Right. But we don't know for sure. It's not officially.
I guess not.
It's not official in the books either.
Yeah.
It's pretty there. I'd say.
Right, but the question is, does Dany know this, and would that make a difference? And let's be honest, I don't know how long it's going to take John to tell her, but I'm assuming it's coming relatively soon. I don't know. So that's probably a moot point soon.
I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Who knows? But it was still a good scene. I liked it. I mean, whatever. So then we go to the waterfall, and Dany has an interesting line. She says, "We could stay 1,000 years." Now, there's some theories that one or the other or both may end up doing something with the White Walkers and some compromise, and like becoming a new Night's King. Not Night King, but Night's King or Night's Queen or something like that. So could this have been foreshadowing?
Yeah, I haven't heard that theory. That's interesting. Yeah. But I wonder if it was just more of a callback to Ygritte.
Right.
And just running away from it all.
Yeah, they were definitely like hinting at that great scene in the cave with John and Ygritte, and we could stay here forever and whatever. But maybe not. Because, I mean, there's some discussion of, maybe it won't be a battle that ends at all, that John will, have to work some sort of deal. And maybe that's what we're getting a little foreshadowing of here. I don't know. It was nice. Whatever.
Yeah, it was interesting. Seems like Dany's kind of a voyeur here, and John's not comfortable with it.
Well, yeah. It seems like the dragons. Sounds like the dragons are the voyeurs. They're just watching them like
dragons are They were very interested for some reason. It's like,
right, right.
Get it on.
Talk about a dog, like a dog on the bed. Yeah,
right.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there? I mean, in one of the. I'm not sure which couple it is in the books, and in the books, in the history, there was a king and queen that when they got together, their dragons mated together too. I'm not sure which king.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest world book.
Right. All the dragon riders have a link to their dragon. They're mentally linked. So, maybe the two of them were getting a little turned on by all this. And
yeah.
You have to have sexy theories. We're vassals of Kingsgrave,
Yeah.
Fucking Targaryens.
I had to go there. But Dany was into it. John wasn't, of course. Yeah.
Well, he was just nervous that the dragons were going to get pissed at him and fry him. I think that's really what it was. Remember, this is his first time riding a dragon, and he doesn't understand this link yet, so he's nervous.
Yeah, and I guess going back to the getting upset with the condensing, I was kind of hoping he'd have to jump on a dragon because of some situation, not just like, hey, get on, let's go for a ride.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you can do this.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be in the heat of battle, and he's like, oh, shit, and just jumps on one, and everyone's like, oh, my God, look, But, no, they just kind of got that out of the way pretty cut and dry here.
Well, another thing to consider is that, remember, you have to have that mental link, and he has that with Ghost already, too. But in the show, at least, and somewhat in the books, he kind of resists that, the warging that all the other Stark children do. He really kind of seems to be resisting it a bit, and so maybe he's starting to feel that with the dragon, and he's resisting it, too. Or maybe I'm putting too much thought into this.
Yeah, maybe, but you brought up a good point. Where the fuck is Ghost?
Right. Well, they didn't have the CGI budget, but we do now. Well, they have promised he will appear this season, so let's hope.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But now would have been a good time.
Yeah.
We had John's reunions with everyone except the creature that he's closest to, but... Right.
Those direwolves must be a real bitch to work with, because they seem to avoid them at any cost.
The money. Back in Winterfell itself, Arya has a bunch of reunions here. First, she has a reunion with the Hound, which I really liked that respect between them. When you're a real bitch, aren't you? That's why you're alive. That was really great. I like that. And she that
was all in character. It was good.
And she gave him a begrudging respect, like, yeah, I could have killed you, but I didn't. But I did steal your money. That was good.
I did rob you. Yeah.
Right. I learned from you that, so...
No, the thing with, I think you were moving on to Gendry.
Exactly.
I don't understand what she's asking him to make. And maybe that's the point.
Yeah.
It looks like some toy.
Well, I mean...
Like, my kids have those things where, with the spears that just fly out, the spring-loaded things, what's going on there?
Clearly, they're setting up some big weapon she's going to get, and there's some theories online already that this, whatever it is, will be what takes down the Night King or a dragon or something.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, it's probably important because remember, she's super assassin. So whatever she's doing has to be good. I don't know.
I guess.
I was more interested in just the reunion with Gendry, and they always were such good friends. And is there now, did you see a little sexual tension there, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, she smiled at him walking away.
Yep.
You know, she was younger before, but now, I mean, if there's anyone in the show or books that she's going to end up with, I mean, I would think it would be Gendry, but I don't think she's going to. I think she's going to go out by herself, but...
Yeah. She still remembers him pounding steel with his shirt off back in their
right? A lot of fans remember that. There have been many memes, but
yes.
On a different note, we now go back to Sansa and Jon discussing things, and apparently Lord Glover has stayed in Deepwood Motte, as you mentioned earlier, and that leads to a big fight, and him saying, like, you know, do you not trust me at all? And, you know, and her making the legitimate point that, well, what you've done is tearing us apart already. And him saying, I don't have any choice. You haven't seen what I'm fighting. It was a good scene, I thought. Both had good points. And
yeah, and I guess, you know, at least on the forums and the book fandom, people give Jon a lot of shit, but I love Jon. He's my favorite character, and I've always felt like he's always doing the right thing. and it's the politics that he becomes kind of deaf to and then falls victim to, like Ned. But I feel like he's always right, because even if you have the best intentions, if you're not watching where you step, it's not going to matter. So it always drives me nuts that he's always got the right intentions, and the politics and the more earthly matters are what stands in his way. So this was that in a nutshell.
So now we get to what I thought was the best and most powerful bit in the episode, which is Sam and Dany having a discussion that starts really light. You know, oh, thank you for your service. You know, maybe I can make you headmaester, and, you know, that sort of stuff. And him going, oh, well, I actually need a pardon for stealing my father's blade, which they still keep making a big deal out of it, and nothing has happened with it yet. I'm assuming it's going to do something important. You know, he's going to kill someone at the end. Maybe he'll be the one who kills the Night King. I don't know. But, like, they're still making a big deal out of this, and yet nothing has happened with it 2 years later. But then we get to this all emotional stuff where I don't think Dany really understands that you probably should break things a little lightly when you tell someone you've killed their father and brother. I mean, like she
gets in front of it.
You know, I mean, she takes credit for it, but at the same time, that to me was another, I mean, the look on his face, I admit I bawled in this scene too. Just the look on his face, and you can see the conflict in his eyes when she tells him that she killed his father. And yeah, he was a bastard. He threatened to kill him and all that, but it's still his father, you know? And there's now no chance for any kind of reconciliation. Not that there probably was, but, you know, he's going to think that it's his father, like, you know, and he's conflicted. And then he goes, well, you know, at least when I go home, I'll go to Dickon. And he doesn't even consider the possibility that Dickon would have died too. And then she drops the hammer, and his eyes, I mean, I just bawled at that moment. Like, oh my God, that's so sad. Like, he carried that so well. I just love that whole scene. It was so powerful, I thought.
It was. I mean, he's so sensitive and sweet. And to, you know, obviously he cared about his brother. His brother didn't do anything to him. But even with his father, you could see it on his face. In the back of his mind, he hoped at some point maybe there would be some love and understanding and forgiveness, and I mean,
of course,
and now that's been torched.
That was just so harsh.
Yeah, he did an excellent job with that. It was tough to watch.
And I mean, just in his eyes, just his face, it was so... The other interesting thing, though, is that I think all of us were wondering last year why we're suddenly bringing these characters in, you know, Randall and Dickon, and making them important and then having them be killed. And, like, what was the point of all this? And it seems like we're now going to this bit where this is now Sam's rationale for pushing Jon into taking the king's role, because he feels, particularly her killing his brother, now admittedly he doesn't have any of the context and any of that, but he feels that this was the wrong thing to do, and this makes her a bad leader. And Jon, as he points out, wouldn't have done that, and he would have forgiven the brother and saved him. And so now we have motivation for, first of all, for Sam to tell Jon that he's the rightful king, but more importantly to try to convince him now and later in this scene, but also presumably over the next several episodes, that he is the rightful king because he would be better. And that's really what makes a good king.
Absolutely. I mean, they were prisoners, and you don't execute prisoners for not immediately surrendering and joining your side. Yeah, that's definitely something John would not have done. And John tries to explain that, well, this or that, but he would not have executed the Tarleys. I mean, plain and simple.
So I think we're setting up him pushing this. Now, one thing that I think, as book readers, I think this might be a big difference because, let's face it, would Sam at this point in the books, I mean, admittedly we're past the books, but would he still feel that John would do the right thing, given that in the books John takes Gilly's baby from her and he's devastated when he figures that out? So I wonder if this is going to be one of those big differences because, like we say, those little butterflies that affect things later. Would he have faith in John anymore in the books? I don't know.
I think so, because again, it goes back to intentions. Even if it's harsh and it's
very harsh.
Yeah, it's extremely harsh, but he did do it to save both the children.
Well, does it though? Because baby Sam, who I don't think is actually named that in the books, right? But that baby might very well be killed before they figure it out. Melisandre may kill that baby.
Well, I think I thought that they would just say, "Hey, that's not the
right." Would she believe
that's
it?
not. There's no king's blood. Yeah, there's no king's blood in that baby. There's no point. The baby you want's in the,
It may be too late, though.
In the Reach,
We're getting more into the books here, but I think that still it's a really tough... And even then, you're still ripping a baby from her mother, and this is the one person on the planet he cares about, and I don't know. I don't know if... I mean, we haven't seen enough of Sam since then. We will see more. I don't know if he's going to have that faith in John that he has here. And I think that's one of the reasons they made the change, too.
I don't know where the book is actually going with Sam specifically, period. So I don't know if we're going to even have a same scenario playing out in the books.
Right. And I don't think we can now because of this, is what I'm saying. I feel like Sam wouldn't. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, he did have a good reason to do it.
Well, for sure, the point of Sam going to the Citadel isn't to just blow him off and then run and steal his dad's sword and go back to the north. He's going to do other things in the book down there. Right. Yeah. But I do think it's a Ned-like trait where John's trying to save both children, as harsh as it may be.
Right. Okay. So we do have the big confrontation. We do have John finally finding out that he is the rightful king. It's interesting, though, that Bran is actually the one who pushes him to do it. Like, okay, it's time. Like, well, why right this moment? What? Maybe it's because he already knew that Sam is now in a mood to do this. I don't know. But he has
I didn't think it would happen right after this.
Right. But it does make sense from Sam's point of view. From Sam's point of view, now's the moment to do it.
It is. You're right.
And of course, John played all those emotions on his face of, oh my God.
I thought that as far as cutting down and getting to the essence of what you got to get done in a scene, I thought that one worked really well. I thought it was well written, as well played. It was great that it was in the crypts. It worked really well.
Yep, perfect place for it. So we have one brief but probably the most Game of Thronesy scene in the episode, which is at last... Well, was it at Last Hearth? I mean, is that where they were? I wasn't clear. I'm assuming we're there because...
I think so.
It's kind of has to be, because why else would Ned Umbers... I mean, would they actually bring him all the way back up to the wall or whatever? I mean, feels like it has to be there.
Didn't they say, like, the walkers were traveling...
Yeah.
Like from far already ahead of them or something like that. So, and Last Hearth is like sort of the first big place they hit after going past the wall.
Right, hence the name. Because going the other way, it's the Last Hearth.
And that's why they were in the title sequence.
Yeah, right. It was in the title sequence.
So that's what I'm assuming, but it's not clear at all. And why are they like underground? Like Last Hearth's a city. Why are we looking in caves underground? I didn't understand any of what was supposed to be happening there, and I guess it doesn't matter.
I think they snuck into the city secretly. Something like that too. I don't know.
It didn't make any sense to me, but it didn't have to because that wasn't the point. But we get an excuse to run into Ed, so I'm assuming that means that the Night's Watch have already started heading south, and for some reason they decided to stop in the Last Hearth? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see that they all survived.
Yeah.
The last scene from season 7, it looks like everybody got blasted, but they all made it out. So
yeah. They'd already said that Tormund and Beric would run, and I will say I wasn't expecting Ed to survive this far because I thought I don't really understand what the Night's King is doing here. It's like, wait a minute, is he just going to get everyone? Why didn't he head towards Castle Black? Why is he heading directly south? You know, that makes me wonder what his motivation is. If we're going to take everyone out, shouldn't he get the rest of the Night's Watch first? Because they didn't know that the wall came down, but they couldn't get the word to them in time. I mean, the only people who would know would be the two people we see right here, Tormund and Beric. And so they couldn't have gotten to them because they headed south, apparently. First of all, the people of Castle Black don't know unless, you know, the Night's King already headed some people there and they're chasing away. But you'd think you'd explain that. It didn't make any sense. Suddenly Dolorous Ed is in Last Hearth.
I think we're long past the point in which we need to worry about logistic questions like this.
Clearly. But I mean, it just...
Since there's explain episode 6 last season.
I know, it's true. It's true. It's a fair point.
So,
but I mean, I would just like some excuse, we've left because we're heading some... I mean, there was a moment earlier where they did say, let's call the Night's Watch in. So maybe someone teleported up there and told them that it's time to head to Winterfell, but I don't know. Either way, I was glad to see Ed. On the downside, there's a pool in a Facebook group. I think Jed set up, the podcast bard, set up for us about who's going to be the first character to die. And I figured someone would have to die in the episode, so my money was on Ed, and I lost there because I thought he'd be dead here. I figured there'd be some attack on the Castle Black, and then we'd be heading down. But I'm glad he's not dead.
Yeah.
I thought for sure if the show's coming back, someone's going to die in this episode, and I didn't think it would be some kid we've never heard of before until 10 minutes ago. Because that's the only character who died in the entire episode, which is very un-Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Setup episodes don't usually have people dying.
I mean, well, last season, the premiere episode had Arya killing the entire... the entire Frey family. I mean, so... But
none of them mattered. None of them have names.
It's true.
In the show.
True. And the important ones were already baked into a pie, so...
Yeah.
One thing that did make me think of, though, when I asked, why is the Night King heading south? One thing that is true on the show and not in the book, so I don't know if they're even going this way, but is it possible that he's going for Gilly's son? Because remember, he was promised to the Night King, and he never got him. So I was wondering if maybe that's what they're heading for, and there's going to be some weird... Maybe that's the importance of Sam and Gilly and all that. I mean, in the books, that can't happen because that really isn't the son, I guess, but...
I feel like that requires setup that it's going to be way too convoluted for the show at this point.
True.
And they don't have time to care about that.
Probably. Fair point. I mean, if they're not going to explain why anyone's going anywhere, why would they explain that? Yeah, they're coming.
That's interesting.
Well, the other thing what makes me think that is if that could lead some way into whatever the resolution's going to be. Because I don't personally feel like it's going to end with a big battle. I feel like something's going to happen, like John's going to negotiate a peace or something. And I wonder if the baby will be part of it. Or maybe their baby or something.
Can you negotiate peace with ice zombies?
I don't know. I mean, the original Night's King did, and so... And
the original
Night's King in the books,
Yeah.
So
and he was also banging another
True, but
lady,
that's a peace.
So.
That's still peace. In fact, that's a happy peace.
I guess.
It's a piece of something.
Yeah.
But it's still a great scene anyways. We got the kids' pieces stuck to the wall with that weird spiral we're seeing that we've seen a whole bunch of times with the White Walkers. Any theories on what it means?
Don't you think the spiral is just a part of their creation? That weirwood with the stones around it. Maybe that's just what happens. That's what they're kind of programmed to do.
A religious icon.
Is to recreate that moment. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Maybe.
It may mean more than that. Who knows?
It's been a symbol since the very first scene in the show, and I don't think they have explained it since. So
maybe they will.
It looks cool.
It does. I'll give them that. and it was a great moment in the episode, So that was something. It gave us something for people to go, ooh, since there wasn't that much else for the action fans in this episode. There was not much other than this one scene, so.
Right. Yeah, it was good. It was well done.
So then, our last scene of the episode, and it's brief. Well, not that brief, because we get a long bit of someone arriving in Winterfell, who I think most of us realized was Jaime pretty quickly, right? And he looks up and sees Bran, the kitty, through out the window. Bran gives him a look, and roll credits.
Yep.
That was great.
That was... Yep. What a way to end. Like, who would have ever thought the episode would end with a scene like that, you know? And yet it was perfect.
Well, that was the scene in episode 1 that got me to keep watching, is pushing him out the window.
Yep.
So,
they wanted the parallelism.
Another callback. Lots of callbacks to season 1. They've been saying it's going to happen a lot, especially in the first episode. And yet, for such a, it's just a moment of two people looking at each other, that was, for me, probably the best cliffhanger yet, because I want to know what's going to happen now. Like, how does Bran react to this, especially? How does Jaime react to his guilt? Like, I that was probably the best cliffhanger they could have done for me.
No, that was excellent. That was a perfect way to end it. I couldn't think of a better way to do it. That was great.
And I
loved it.
We don't like to go too much into the coming attractions because some people like to stay spoiler free, but it seems like we're going to be spending a lot of time in the next episode dealing with Jaime and the ramifications of all that he's done. So that's nice because we need it. I mean, I was worried that he was just going to show up and they'd be like, oh, okay, you're on our side now. Hey. Especially when he came without an army. Like, he was supposed to be bringing the entire army, and he's kind of here on his own.
Yeah, and I think it's further going to create a rift between John and Daenerys, because Daenerys obviously isn't going to let that fly, and John's let everything fly,
And could it even create a rift between John and the rest of the family? I mean, if he lets it fly, he did throw their brother out the window. Yeah,
exactly. But they never bring up Daenerys' father killing their grandfather and uncle.
That's true. That's true.
And that's really no different. So.
And Jaime also killed Dany's father with good reason.
Yep.
But the episode left us wanting more, which I guess is a good thing.
I heard a great compliment about the show. Whether you're in love with the episode or not totally feeling it, they all fly by so quick, and I think that's a testimony to something you're hungry for. And every episode feels like it's 15 minutes. It's great.
I know, and we're already hitting. All of them are going to be an hour or more.
Right.
For those who don't know, the first 2 episodes are around an hour each, and the next 4 are going to be 80 minutes each, give or take. So we're getting some longer ones to make up for our lack of number of episodes. So is there anything else you want to say about this episode? Or any predictions you want to make for the rest of the show? Or
I want to hold off on predictions. Sure. I just want to take it in. Sometimes you get wrapped up in trying to call it and not just enjoy it.
Right.
Sometimes you're like, oh, see, I'm being proved right here, instead of just sitting back and letting it hit you. So I think we went through that well, and I have nothing else to say. It was a great episode.
There's nothing else either you want to say about it before we go on?
I'm good.
Or the season or anything else? Okay.
Just don't think too hard. Enjoy.
It, like my quote from last season, it's great television as long as you don't think about it too much. But unfortunately, that's what we do.
Yep.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Thank you for joining us. You can find us online by searching for Vassals of Kingsgrave in your favorite search engine or on iTunes, archive.org, YouTube, Stitcher, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and all your favorite dating apps. Feel free to leave comments and likes and to subscribe, but if you really want to join in on the discussions, and maybe even if you'd like to join us on the podcast at some point, look for us on the Podcast of Ice and Fire forums, which is our home. We have our own little subsection, the Vassals of Kingsgrave. Does anyone have any upcoming podcasts that you're going to be a part of or that you've been a part of that you'd like to pimp out here?
I'll be on next week's.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
I was recently on the main podcast.
The Podcast of Ice and Fire?
Cool.
Yes.
Nice.
And I think there's a soccer cast coming.
Cool.
Is it already out? I haven't been checking the forums on the podcast forums that much, unfortunately. But yeah, maybe that's coming too.
I know that Dragoncast has already done their recording. They did it immediately after the episode aired, and it's already been out. It was out on Monday. Well, usually we're actually pretty good. Kraken beat Dragon a bunch of times last year, but not that it's a real competition, but I know Duncan took pride in that. But they did this, they had it out like early on Monday. They were really good. In fact, it's already got like over 500 views on YouTube and stuff. So that's already out. Wolfcast is also going to be doing a review. In fact, this year they're going to probably be doing every week because Bina, I think, might be joining them. She's at least going to be helping in the editing, and she might be joining them now that she's watching the show. Yay.
It's great that she watched it.
Yep. That was a great podcast, by the way, with her and Nadia and Michal talking about it after her and Nadia gave in and just binged the season. Seasons they've missed.
Yeah.
We also recorded a podcast about the first part of Doctor Who Season 11, the new Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall era of the show. I've been slacking in editing it, but I hope to get it out soon after, of course, I edit this one. Sorry, guys, but it's coming. Don't worry. And then later we'll do one of the rest of the season. So if that's it, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you for listening. I'm David, and thank you to our hosts, Bing and Neil, and also to Sarah, who popped in for a moment, and Donna for popping in, and for Duncan for being our fearless leader, even if he's touring around America right now. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bing is the cold shower on all our fandom erections.
And we're out. Yay. And we're 15 minutes early. Hey, that's, I think, a first for Krakencast.
Cool.
Yeah. I made it to the end of one.
Yay.
Nice.
Bing is the cold shower on all our fandom erections.
I feel like we need Krakens in the Krakencast, right?
We'll just sprinkle
You're
them in.
all honorary Krakens.
I know. I mean, I think we are Krakens now. I mean, we've all been in at least, 3 or 4 now, right?
Yeah.
If not more. In any case,
Bing, I'm glad you joined us to rain on everyone's parade, because this episode just made me feel like they're hyping us in so many different ways so we don't think.
Right. And I was definitely hoping Bing would participate, because I know, you tend to, splash the cold water when I get happy and, I mean, I admit I cheerlead for the show. So the good thing is the balance of opinions, which is great.
Bing is the cold shower on all our fandom erections.
We'll get to the Brun scene.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't always this way. When I was in the first, for the first season I was on, I seemed to be the more supportive of the show out of me and Doug. So I don't know how this happened. Well, no, I know exactly.
You know exactly how it happened. The show went ways you didn't like. That's fine. I mean, you're still enjoying it, right? I mean, even if it's not.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah. No, it's a good show.
I mean, I think that's one of the things about our. We're not just cheerleaders. We will. I mean, even me. I mean, I have the quote I liked last season where I said, it's great television and really entertaining and really, really great in as long as you don't think about it. And we do. So, well,